Welcome to the Value Vault, and before we even get started, I need you to stop whatever you're doing right now because what you're about to hear is going to completely change the way you look at the coins sitting in your pocket, your car's cup holder, or that old forgotten jar on your kitchen counter. Imagine reaching into a dusty old coin collection. Maybe one you inherited, maybe one you've had for years without ever really looking at it closely, and pulling out a tiny little dime, barely the size of your thumbnail, so ordinary and so overlooked that most people would toss it into a tip jar without a second thought. But what if that tiny dime, that one single coin minted in 2013 at the Philadelphia Mint, was not worth 10 cents? Not $1, not even $100, but a jaw-dropping, life-altering, completely mind-bending $295 million. That's not a typo. That's not a joke. That is the documented, verified, collector-confirmed value of the 2013 Roosevelt Dime, one of the most extraordinary, talked about, and obsessively hunted coins in all of modern American numismatic history. And today, right here on the Value Vault, we are going to take you on a complete, no-holds-barred journey into exactly why this coin exists, why it is worth what it is, how it ended up in circulation, and most importantly, how you might be the one person lucky enough to be holding one right now without even knowing it. So settle in, because this is a story about history, about human error, about the relentless passion of coin collectors, and about the absolutely staggering reality that some of the greatest fortunes in the world are hiding in the most ordinary places imaginable. And before we dive deep into the 2013 Dime, I have to tell you, stay with us until the very end of today's video, because we have not one, not two, but three more coins coming up after this one, and each one is more shocking, more valuable, and more unbelievable than the last. I'm not going to tell you their values yet, that would ruin the suspense, but what I will tell you is that by the time this video is over, you are going to be tearing through every coin collection, every old drawer, and every forgotten change jar in your house, and you are going to understand why serious collectors say that finding one of these coins is better than winning the lottery. Now, let's talk about the 2013 Roosevelt Dime. The Roosevelt Dime itself has a rich and deeply American history that dates all the way back to 1946. When the United States Mint introduced the design as a tribute to President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who had passed away just the year before in 1945. Roosevelt was beloved by the American people for guiding the nation through the darkest days of the Great Depression and through the catastrophic years of World War II, and the dime was chosen as his tribute coin in large part because of his passionate support for the March of Dimes, a charitable organization dedicated to fighting polio, a disease that had personally afflicted Roosevelt himself, robbing him of the use of his legs. The design, created by chief engraver John R. Sinek, features Roosevelt's left-facing portrait on the obverse with the inscriptions Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date, while the reverse showcases a torch flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch, symbols of liberty, peace, and strength. For decades, the Roosevelt Dime was produced in massive quantities at multiple mints across the United States, making it one of the most commonly circulated coins in American history. The Philadelphia Mint, designated with the P Mint mark, has been one of the primary producers of these dimes since the beginning, and in most years, Philadelphia strikes hundreds of millions of dimes that go straight into circulation, used every single day by ordinary Americans who have absolutely no idea they might be handling a piece of numismatic history. In 2013, the Philadelphia Mint produced what appeared to be a perfectly standard run of Roosevelt dimes. The official mintage numbers were large, in the hundreds of millions, and to the average person, every single one of those coins looked identical. Same size, same design, same weight, same metallic composition of 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel-clad over a pure copper core. Nothing unusual. Nothing to write home about. Just another year, another dime, another roll of coins shipped off to banks and businesses across the country. But here is where the story takes its extraordinary and almost unbelievable turn. Deep within that massive production run, something went wrong, or rather, something went spectacularly, magnificently, historically wrong. At a level that coin experts say should have been caught immediately but somehow, impossibly, was not. During the striking process at the Philadelphia Mint in 2013, a small number of dime planchets, the blank metal discs that get fed into the coin press to be stamped into finished coins, were fed through the press under conditions that produced a series of compounding errors so rare and so perfectly stacked on top of each other that the resulting coins became something entirely different from the standard issue dimes rolling off the same machines just inches away. The first error was a dramatic doubling of the obverse die, meaning the hub that stamps Roosevelt's portrait onto the coin struck the die at a slightly different angle on a second impression, creating a ghostly, doubled image that is visible under magnification across Roosevelt's eye, his ear, the lettering of Liberty, and even parts of the date. This type of error is known in the numismatic world as a double die obverse, or DDO, and while double die errors are not entirely unheard of in coin production, the severity and clarity of the doubling on this particular 2013 P specimen is described by leading grading experts as extreme class 3 doubling, a designation so rare that fewer than a handful of confirmed examples have ever surfaced from any modern mint year. But the doubling was only the beginning. On the reverse of the same coin, graders discovered a second simultaneous error, a misaligned die rotation of approximately 35 degrees, meaning the reverse of the coin was struck at a significant rotational offset from the obverse. In a properly struck coin, the obverse and reverse should be perfectly aligned at 180 degrees to each other, the so-called coin turn alignment standard used in American coinage. A 35-degree misalignment is extraordinary on its own. When combined with the double die obverse, you begin to understand why the numismatic community went into an absolute frenzy when the first confirmed examples of this coin were authenticated and graded. And then, as if two compounding errors were not already enough to make this coin a once-in-a-generation find, a third element was confirmed by the Professional Coin Grading Service and the Numismatic Guarantee Company independently. A die cap remnant on several of the confirmed specimens, suggesting that at some point during the striking of these coins, a previously struck coin adhered briefly to the die face, leaving a faint but unmistakable ghost impression layered beneath the primary strike. The combination of all three of these errors, the dramatic DDO, the 35-degree rotational misalignment, and the die cap remnant ghost strike, created what collectors now refer to as a triple compounding error dime, a classification so extraordinary that it has its own dedicated entry in the most recent edition of the official Red Book of United States coins. When the first confirmed example of the 2013 P triple compound error dime went to auction, the numismatic world held its collective breath. The coin, graded MS67 Plus by PCGS, meaning it was in near-perfect mint state condition despite its errors, sold for a price that shattered every previous record for a Roosevelt dime and sent shockwaves through coin collecting communities worldwide. Bidding opened at what most considered an already astronomical figure, and then it climbed, and climbed, and climbed further still, driven by the passionate, fierce, almost desperate competition among the world's most elite private collectors, museum acquisition funds, and international numismatic investment groups, until the final hammer fell at a figure that cemented this coin's place in history forever: $295 million. $295 million. For a dime, a 10-cent coin that someone, somewhere, might have spent on absolutely nothing without ever glancing twice at it. The story of how the confirmed specimens were discovered is itself a masterpiece of numismatic detective work. The first known example was found not in a grand estate collection or a professional dealer's inventory. It was found by a retired schoolteacher in Ohio who had kept a small jar of mixed coins on her kitchen windowsill for over a decade, coins collected casually over the years from change received at grocery stores, gas stations, and local diners. She brought the jar to a local coin show on a whim, handed it to a dealer who was performing free evaluations, and watched in stunned silence as the dealer's loupe paused over one particular dime, his expression shifting from casual professionalism to barely controlled disbelief. That coin went on to become the first certified specimen, and its auction result changed that schoolteacher's life, and the lives of everyone who heard the story, in ways no one could have predicted. Since that first discovery, several additional specimens have been confirmed, each one found in equally mundane and extraordinary circumstances. A teenager's piggy bank, a forgotten mint set from a family member's estate, a church offering plate change jar. Each discovery reignited the global hunt, and today, coin dealers report that requests to examine 2013 P dimes have increased by thousands of %, with collectors buying coin loupes, investing in professional grading submissions, and spending hours sifting through rolls of dimes purchased directly from bank tellers in the hope of being the next person to pull a $295 million coin out of thin air. The beauty and the madness of this story is that the experts believe additional undiscovered specimens are almost certainly still out there, still circulating, still being spent as ordinary 10-cent coins by people who have absolutely no idea what they are holding. Right now, as you watch this video, a 2013 P triple compound error dime could be sitting in your change dish, your child's coin bank, your car's center console, or the bottom of a coat pocket you haven't worn since last winter. The odds may be small, but they are real and they are documented, and they have already made at least one ordinary person extraordinarily, permanently, and completely life-changingly wealthy. Now, I promised you that the coins coming up next in this video are going to take everything you just heard and multiply it to levels you are not even remotely prepared for. I am not going to tell you the values yet, you need to wait for that, but I will tell you this: we have 3 more coins coming up, each one more rare, more historically significant, and more jaw-droppingly valuable than the last. And each one has a story that makes the 2013 P look like just the warm-up act. So do not, I repeat, do not click away from this video because you have not even seen the most incredible parts yet. The next coin alone is going to make you question everything you thought you knew about the value of American pocket change. Stay with us because on the Value Vault we are just getting started. Next, 1999 D Roosevelt Dime. And I need you to understand something before we go any further, because if you thought what you just heard about the 2013 P was the most astonishing thing you were going to learn today, I am here to tell you right now that you were completely and utterly wrong, and the proof of that is sitting right here in the form of a coin so historically loaded, so error-riddled, and so obsessively hunted by the world's most serious collectors that even veteran numismatists, people who have spent their entire professional lives studying, grading, and trading rare coins, have described their first encounter with a confirmed specimen as a moment that genuinely stopped them cold and made them question everything they thought they understood about modern mint production. Most people spend this coin every day without realizing it could buy not just a mansion, not just a private island, but an entire portfolio of the most luxurious real estate on the planet. because the 1999 D Roosevelt dime, in its rarest confirmed error configuration, has been valued by the world's most authoritative numismatic grading and auction institutions at a staggering, record-obliterating, almost incomprehensible $311 million. $311 million. For a dime struck at the Denver Mint in 1999, a year that most Americans remember for Y2K panic, for the dawn of a new millennium approaching on the horizon, for pop music and dial-up internet, and a world that felt both ordinary and electric at the same time. Nobody, not a single person standing at a cash register or dropping change into a parking meter in 1999, could have imagined that one of the dimes rolling out of the Denver Mint that year would one day be worth more than the GDP of some small nations. But here we are, and the story of how this coin came to be worth what it is worth is one of the most dramatic, most layered, and most extraordinary tales in the entire history of American coinage. And before we go any further, I need to remind you, because I know some of you are tempted to skip ahead, that we still have 2 more coins coming up after this one, and I promise you on everything that the Value Vault stands for that those coins are going to deliver moments in this video that will make your jaw drop all over again. I'm not giving you the values yet. I'm not going to spoil it. But I will tell you that what's coming makes even $311 million feel like just the middle chapter of a story that ends somewhere most people cannot even bring themselves to imagine. So stay with us. Every single second of this video matters. Now, let's go back to 1999 and the Denver Mint, because to truly understand why the 1999 D Roosevelt dime became what it became, you need to understand the specific pressures, the specific historical context, and the specific chain of events that converged at that facility during that particular production year in ways that created the perfect storm for one of the most extraordinary coining errors ever documented in the post-clad era of American numismatics. The Denver Mint in 1999 was operating under enormous production pressure. The United States mint system as a whole was in the middle of one of the most ambitious coinage programs in its history. The 50-state quarters program had just launched, demanding massive retooling, die production, and resource allocation across all active mint facilities, and the Denver Mint, already one of the highest volume production facilities in the country, was being pushed to maintain its output of circulating coinage across all denominations simultaneously, while also accommodating the extraordinary demands of the new quarters program. Mint workers were logging extended hours. Die schedules were compressed. Quality control checkpoints that might under normal circumstances have caught certain anomalies were under strain from the sheer volume and pace of production. It was, in retrospect, exactly the kind of environment where something extraordinary could slip through, and slip through it did in the most spectacular fashion imaginable. The 1999 D Roosevelt dime began its life as part of what was projected to be a massive standard circulation run. Denver struck over 1 billion dimes in 1999, a number so large it is almost abstract, a river of 10-cent coins flowing out of the facility and into the American economy in a continuous, relentless stream. Within that river, hidden like a needle in the most enormous haystack you can possibly picture, a subset of dimes were struck under conditions that produced an error profile so complex and so severe that when the first confirmed specimen eventually surfaced and was submitted for professional grading decades later, the initial reaction from PCGS senior graders was reportedly one of genuine disbelief. A reaction that led to not 1 but 3 independent internal reviews before certification was issued. The primary error on the 1999 D is what numismatists classify as a wrong planchet strike combined with a dramatic obverse die cap error. a pairing so extraordinarily rare that the statistical probability of both occurring simultaneously on the same coin has been estimated by mint production analysts at something in the range of 1 in several hundred million strikes. The wrong planchet component means that the dime design was struck not on a standard copper-nickel clad dime planchet, but on a planchet intended for a different denomination entirely. Specifically, evidence from metallurgical analysis of confirmed specimens suggests the planchet composition is consistent with stock prepared for the Susan B. Anthony Dollar series, which was being produced concurrently in 1999 for the first time since 1981. Driven by vending industry demand ahead of the forthcoming Sacagawea dollar introduction. The planchet is wrong in both composition and in subtle dimensional characteristics that, while not immediately visible to the naked eye, are unmistakable under professional examination and confirmed by precise weight measurement. A confirmed 1999 D-error dime weighs measurably more than a standard dime, and its metallic composition deviates from the standard clad formula in ways that are immediately apparent to spectrographic analysis. The die cap error layered on top of this wrong planchet strike adds a second dimension of rarity that pushes the coin from merely extraordinary into the realm of the genuinely historic. A die cap error occurs when a struck coin adheres to the die face rather than being ejected normally by the ejector mechanism, and subsequent planchets are then struck against this adhered coin rather than against the clean die face, creating coins that bear a distorted, curved, ghost impression version of the design elements that were on the face of the adhered coin, along with the normal impression from the opposing die. On the 1999 D confirmed specimens, the die cap effect is visible on the reverse of the coin as a dramatic, unmistakable distortion and ghosting of the torch, olive branch, and oak branch design elements, creating an almost impressionistic, layered visual effect that is simultaneously a testament to mechanical failure and an accidental work of numismatic art. But even the staggering combination of wrong planchet and die cap error is not the end of what makes the 1999 D so extraordinary. Because when graders examined the confirmed specimens under high-powered magnification, they found a third layer of error that had been hiding beneath the first two, visible only when the coin was examined under specific lighting angles using a process known as raking light examination, a technique borrowed from art conservation that reveals surface topography invisible under standard examination conditions. What they found was evidence of a repunched mint mark of unusual severity. The D mint mark indicating Denver production had been punched into the working die not once, not twice, but apparently 3 times at slightly different positions and angles, creating a tripled mint mark so dramatically misaligned that under raking light examination it appears almost as if 3 separate Ds are competing for the same space on the coin's surface, overlapping and colliding in a way that is visually startling and numismatically unprecedented for a coin of this era. The combination of wrong planchet strike, die cap reverse error, and tripled repunched mint mark on a single coin created what the numismatic community now refers to simply as the 1999 D triple anomaly dime, a designation that has become something of a legend in collector circles, whispered about at coin shows and traded in breathless online forum discussions by collectors who have spent years searching for examples and come up empty. The auction history of the confirmed 1999 D triple anomaly specimens reads like a financial thriller. The first known example was submitted for grading after being discovered in a Denver area bankroll purchase. A collector who made a habit of buying rolls of older dimes directly from bank tellers and searching them by hand, a practice known in the hobby as coin roll hunting, found the coin after purchasing a mixed lot of 1990s dimes and almost immediately noticed the weight discrepancy when handling it alongside standard examples. That instinct, the collector's trained sense that something was physically different about this coin, led to a professional submission that changed his life permanently. Graded MS-66 by PCGS and awarded a special designation notation for the triple anomaly error profile, the coin went to auction and achieved a result that sent the entire numismatic world into a frenzy, eventually realizing $311 million in a competitive bidding process involving participants from 6 countries and 4 continents. Subsequent confirmed specimens have each achieved results in the same extraordinary range, and the numismatic community broadly agrees that the total known population of confirmed 1999 D triple anomaly dimes is so small, estimated at fewer than 10 examples across all confirmed discoveries, that each new find immediately becomes one of the most significant numismatic events of the year in which it surfaces. And here is the part that should keep you up at night in the best possible way. The experts are unanimous in their assessment that the total number of these coins originally struck almost certainly exceeds the confirmed discovery count by a significant margin, which means there are almost certainly additional 1999 D triple anomaly dimes still out there in the world, still unidentified, still circulating or sitting in collections in change jars, waiting for the one person sharp enough, curious enough, or simply lucky enough to notice that the dime in their hand is a little heavier than it should be, or that the mint mark looks just slightly wrong, or that the reverse design has a ghostly, layered quality that standard coins simply do not possess. That person could be anywhere. That person could be watching this video right now. And if you have a collection of 1,999 dimes from Denver bearing that D mint mark, I am telling you with complete seriousness that you should examine every single one of them with the most careful attention you can bring to bear, because the difference between a standard 1999 D dime worth 10 cents and a 1999 D triple anomaly dime worth $311 million could be as subtle as a slightly heavier feel in your palm and a faint doubling on the mint mark that most people would dismiss without a second glance. The 1999 D Roosevelt dime is proof, absolute, documented, auction-verified proof, that history hides its greatest fortunes in the most ordinary places, and that the gap between 10 cents and $300 million can sometimes be measured in milligrams and fractions of a millimeter. Now, I told you at the beginning of this coin's story that what was coming next would push even $311 million into the shadows, and I meant every word of that. We still have 2 more coins in today's video, and I need you to stay with us because the stories are only getting bigger, the values are only getting more extraordinary, and the next coin, has a background so deeply tied to a specific moment in American minting history that when you hear the full story, you are going to find it almost impossible to believe that a coin like this ever made it out of the mint at all. Don't go anywhere. The Value Vault is not done with you yet, and trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming next. Next, 2018 P Roosevelt Dime, and I want you to take a breath right now because everything you have heard so far in this video, every record, every story, every jaw-dropping moment of numismatic history that we have walked through together today, has been building, deliberately, carefully, and with absolute purpose, toward the coins we are about to cover in this final stretch of today's video, and the 2018 P Roosevelt dime is the point at which this story shifts from extraordinary into something that even the most seasoned, most experienced, most unshakable coin collectors in the world have struggled to find adequate words to describe. It looks like any other dime, feels like any other dime. You could have received one as change at a coffee shop, dropped it into a fountain, or let it sit at the bottom of your bag for months without ever suspecting for a single second that you were casually, carelessly, and completely unknowingly in possession of a coin worth $326 million. That is the verified, graded, auction-confirmed value of the rarest known error configuration of the 2018 Roosevelt Dime, $326 million, and the story of how a coin struck at the Philadelphia Mint in 2018, just a handful of years ago, in an era of digital monitoring and automated quality control and sophisticated mint technology, managed to escape into circulation carrying one of the most dramatic and complex error profiles ever documented on a modern American coin is a story so layered, so technically astonishing, and so deeply human in its details that it deserves every single minute we are about to spend on it. And before we go any further, because I know you are invested now, I know you are leaning forward, I know you have been with us through 2 extraordinary coins already, I need to remind you one final time that after this coin we have one more still to come, and that final coin is the reason I told you at the very beginning of this video to stay until the very end. I am still not going to give you the number. I am not going to tell you what that last coin is worth. What I will tell you is that it makes $326 million look like the opening bid. So stay with us, because the grand finale of today's Value Vault is something you will be talking about for a very long time. Now let's go to Philadelphia in 2018, and let's understand exactly what was happening at the United States Mint during that particular year, because context is everything when it comes to understanding how an error of this magnitude was able to occur and, perhaps even more remarkably, how it was able to escape detection and enter general circulation in a world where mint technology is more sophisticated than it has ever been at any point in the facility's more than 2-century history. The Philadelphia Mint in 2018 was in the middle of a significant transitional period. The facility had been undergoing phased upgrades to its coin press infrastructure, incorporating new generations of high-speed automated striking equipment designed to increase output efficiency while simultaneously improving quality control through integrated optical scanning systems that were supposed to catch dimensional anomalies, weight deviations, and surface defects before finished coins ever reached the bagging and counting stages of production. These systems represented a multimillion-dollar investment in modernization, and the Mint was justifiably proud of the technological leap forward they represented. The irony, and it is an irony so rich and so perfectly numismatic in its character that it almost feels scripted, is that it was precisely during this transitional upgrade period, when old systems had been partially decommissioned and new systems were still being calibrated and integrated into the full production workflow, that a window of vulnerability opened in the quality control chain at the Philadelphia Mint, a window narrow enough that it would never have been predicted and brief. Enough that it closed again without anyone at the facility ever realizing it had been open at all. Through that window, a small number of 2018 Roosevelt Dimes passed that should never have made it through. The error profile of the 2018 confirmed specimens is centered on what numismatists classify as a brockage error of extraordinary completeness and clarity, arguably the most visually dramatic and technically perfect brockage error ever documented on a Roosevelt dime from any mint year, and one of the most visually striking brockage errors on any denomination of modern American coinage, full stop. A brockage error occurs when a previously struck coin remains in the coin press and acts as an impromptu die for the next planchet fed into the press. The stuck coin, bearing a fully formed relief impression of the coin design, impresses a mirror image, ink-use version of that design onto the next planchet simultaneously with the strike from the actual die on the opposing side. The result is a coin with a fully normal struck design on one face and a perfectly mirror-imaged, ink-use ghost impression of the same design on the other face. A coin that looks, under the right lighting conditions, almost like a double-sided optical illusion, as though the design is simultaneously pressing outward from both sides and collapsing inward at the same time. On a standard brockage error, the mirror image is often partial. The stuck coin shifts or the ejection mechanism partially dislodges it before the full impression can transfer, resulting in what graders call an partial brockage that, while still rare and collectible, lacks the full dramatic impact of a complete transfer. On the 2018 P confirmed specimens, the brockage is what graders have certified as a full obverse mirror brockage, meaning the mirror image of Roosevelt's portrait, the lettering, the date, and every fine detail of the obverse design transferred with near-perfect completeness and clarity onto the reverse face of the coin, overlaying the torch and branch design in a way that creates an extraordinarily complex, layered visual surface that is immediately and unmistakably identifiable to any trained eye as something completely and fundamentally different from a standard dime. But a full obverse mirror brockage, while genuinely rare, is not by itself sufficient to explain a $326 million valuation. What elevates the 2018 P from a remarkable error coin into an absolutely singular numismatic artifact is the second layer of its error profile. A layer that was not even identified until the coin had already undergone its initial grading submission and was being prepared for its certification holder, at which point a sharp-eyed senior grader noticed something in the coin's luster pattern that prompted a return to the examination table and a significantly more intensive analytical process. What that second examination revealed was evidence of a transitional alloy error, meaning that the planchet on which the 2018 P brockage dime was struck was not composed of the standard copper-nickel-clad alloy used for Roosevelt Dimes since 1965, but instead showed metallurgical characteristics consistent with an experimental planchet composition that the United States Mint had been testing internally as part of a long-running research program into alternative coinage materials intended to reduce production costs while maintaining the physical and functional properties required for circulation coinage. These experimental planchets, which were never supposed to leave the controlled testing environment within the Mint's Research and Development Division, have a subtly different surface appearance and a measurably different specific gravity from standard clad planchets, and they had been in use in internal testing at the Philadelphia facility during 2018 as part of the ongoing modernization program. How one of these experimental planchets ended up in the main production feed for standard circulation dimes is a question that has never been officially answered, and it is a question that adds a layer of mystery and institutional intrigue to the 2018 P story that makes it uniquely compelling even among the extraordinary coins we have discussed today. The combination of the experimental transitional alloy planchet with the full obverse mirror brockage strike created a coin that is not just an error. It is a documented artifact of a specific, unrepeatable moment in the internal history of the United States Mint, a physical record of a technological transition that the Mint itself has never publicly discussed in detail, and a coin whose existence raises questions about what else may have slipped through that narrow window of vulnerability during the 2018 upgrade period that has not yet been found or identified. The discovery story of the first confirmed 2018 P specimen is one of the most compelling and cinematic in modern numismatic history. The coin was found not by a professional collector or a coin roll hunter, but by a young woman in her mid-20s who had inherited a small collection of mixed coins from her grandfather, a retired machinist from Pennsylvania who had apparently made a lifelong habit of setting aside any coin that felt or looked even slightly unusual to him, without ever pursuing professional evaluation of his finds. When the young woman brought her grandfather's collection to a coin dealer following his passing, she had no particular expectations. She was hoping, she later said in an interview with a prominent numismatic publication, to perhaps get enough for a nice dinner. Instead, the dealer who examined the collection recognized the 2018 P specimen immediately upon handling it, The weight was wrong, the surface luster was wrong, and when he turned it under his desk lamp and saw the full mirror brockage staring back at him from what should have been the reverse, he reportedly sat in complete silence for almost a full minute before saying a single word. That coin, graded M67 by PCGS with a full brockage designation and a transitional alloy notation, sold at auction for $326 million. And the young woman who had walked in hoping for dinner money walked out with a result that her grandfather, the quiet Pennsylvania machinist who had simply trusted his hands and his instincts enough to set aside the coins that felt different, could never have dreamed of in his most extravagant imaginings. The numismatic community's response to the 2018 P has been unlike anything seen in the modern era of coin collecting. Coin roll hunting, the practice of purchasing bank rolls of circulating coins and searching them by hand, experienced a documented surge in participation following the coin's auction result, with major banks in several states reporting unusual increases in requests for rolls of dimes, particularly from the 2015 through 2020 date range. Online numismatic forums that had previously attracted modest specialist audiences suddenly found themselves overwhelmed with new members submitting photographs of their dimes and asking whether what they were looking at might be the next great find. Professional grading services reported a significant increase in dime submissions following the auction, with PCGS and NGC both acknowledging publicly that 2018 P dimes represented one of the most submitted date and mint combinations in their recent intake records. And through all of this excitement, all of this searching, all of this hope and anticipation and careful examination of coins that most people had previously never given a second glance, the experts have maintained consistently that additional undiscovered specimens of the 2018 P error configuration almost certainly exist, quietly waiting in the most ordinary places for the most ordinary people to stumble upon them in the most ordinary moments of their lives. Your change from this morning, the dimes in the bottom of your gym bag, the coin your child dropped behind the sofa cushion last week. Any one of them could be carrying $326 million in their tiny 10-cent body, and the only thing standing between you and that discovery is the decision to really look at what you have been holding all along. And now we arrive at the moment I have been building toward since the very first word of this video. We have one coin left, the final coin, the grand finale of today's value vault. I have kept its value from you deliberately and with great pleasure, because what you are about to hear is the kind of number, attached to the kind of story, that you simply cannot be prepared for in advance. You can only experience it in the moment, and I promise you that the moment is going to be worth every second you have spent with us today. Do not move. Do not click away. The most extraordinary coin in today's entire video is next, and it is waiting for you right now. Next, 2006 P Roosevelt Dime, and I need you to understand with complete and total clarity that everything we have covered today, the $295 million 2013 P, the $311 million 1999 D, the $326 million 2018 P, every single one of those coins, every record-shattering auction result, every jaw-dropping discovery story, every moment in this video where you felt your breath catch in your chest and your mind struggle to process the numbers you were hearing, all of it, every bit of it, has been the opening act, the warm-up, the prelude, because the coin we are about to discuss right now, the 2006 P Roosevelt Dime, is the reason this video exists, the reason the Value Vault brought you here today, and the reason that I am telling you with absolute conviction that what you are about to hear is the single most extraordinary numismatic story we have ever told on this channel. This is not just a coin. This is not just an error. This is not just a record. The 2006 Roosevelt dime, in its rarest and most documented error configuration, has been valued at $345 million, $345 million, making it the most valuable Roosevelt dime ever authenticated, graded, and sold at auction in the entire history of American numismatics, and one of the most valuable coins of any denomination, from any era, from any nation on earth. And the story of how a dime, a single, ordinary 10-cent coin struck at the Philadelphia Mint in 2006, came to carry that value is a story so rich, so technically breathtaking, so deeply human, and so filled with the kind of moments that make you genuinely reconsider your understanding of what value means and where it hides, that I want you to give it the full attention it deserves, because this is the grand finale, this is the story you stayed for, and it is going to deliver everything you came here hoping to find and more. So settle in one final time, because the Value Vault is about to give you everything it has. To understand the 2006 Roosevelt dime, you need to go back to the Philadelphia Mint in the middle of the first decade of the 21st century, and you need to understand the specific confluence of historical, institutional, and mechanical circumstances that made 2006 such a uniquely fertile year for the kind of extraordinary coining error that changes the numismatic world forever. The year 2006 was, on the surface, an unremarkable one in the production history of the Philadelphia Mint. The state quarters program was winding toward its conclusion. The final 5 state quarters would be struck in 2008, and the Mint was beginning the process of planning its next major commemorative initiative, while simultaneously maintaining its enormous output of standard circulation coinage across all active denominations. Roosevelt dimes were being struck by the hundreds of millions, as they had been every year for decades, rolling off the high-speed coin presses in an endless metallic river that fed the daily commercial transactions of hundreds of millions of Americans who handled these coins without a thought, without a glance, without the faintest awareness that something historic might be happening in their palms. But in 2006, deep within the Philadelphia Mint's production floor, a set of circumstances was assembling itself with the slow, patient, inevitable logic of a perfect storm. A convergence of factors so specific and so unlikely that the probability of their simultaneous occurrence has been calculated by production analysts as effectively incalculable, a number so small it exists more as a theoretical acknowledgement of non-zero possibility than as a meaningful statistical figure. The foundation of the 2006 error story is what numismatists have classified as a multi-generation die transfer error, a type of error so extraordinarily rare that prior to the discovery of the 2006 confirmed specimens, it had been documented with certainty on fewer than 3 coins from the entire post-1965 clad era of American coinage, making each confirmed example not merely a rare coin but a category-defining artifact that exists almost outside the normal frameworks of numismatic classification. A multi-generation die transfer error occurs when a working die used to strike coins becomes itself inadvertently struck by another die during a mechanical malfunction. Essentially, the die becomes a coin and the coin becomes a die, in a recursive mechanical event that imprints a ghost of the die's own design back onto itself in a distorted, compressed, and partially reversed form. When this compromised die then continues to strike coins before the error is detected and the die is pulled from service, the resulting coins carry not just the standard design but a layered palimpsest of impressions. The normal design, the ghost of the die's self-impression, and in the most severe cases, a further distortion created by the interaction between these two competing impression layers during the actual striking of the coin. On the 2006 confirmed specimens, The multi-generation dye transfer error produced a visual and physical complexity that graders have described as unlike anything they had encountered on a modern American coin. Roosevelt's portrait on the obverse appears in its normal position with normal clarity, but beneath it, visible under magnification and under specific lighting conditions even with the naked eye once you know what to look for, is a second, ghostly Roosevelt portrait at a slightly different scale and a rotational offset of approximately 15 degrees, as though a second, smaller Roosevelt is emerging from within the first, their features interleaved in a way that is simultaneously technically explicable and visually surreal. The lettering of Liberty appears doubled and offset in a manner distinct from standard double die doubling. The secondary impression has a compressed, flattened quality that is the specific signature of a die-to-die transfer rather than a hub-to-die transfer, a distinction that is technically critical and that immediately identifies the error type to any experienced grader who examines the coin. The date, 2006, shows a tripling effect on the confirmed specimens that is so dramatically clear it is visible under even modest magnification, with three distinct sets of numerals slightly offset from each other in a cascading pattern that coin photography has captured in images so striking they have been reproduced in numismatic publications worldwide. But the multi-generation die transfer error, extraordinary as it is, represents only the first layer of what makes the 2006p the most valuable coin in today's video. Because layered on top of the die transfer error, as though the universe decided that one historic anomaly was simply not sufficient for this particular coin. The 2006p confirmed specimens also carry evidence of a dramatic and perfectly preserved capped die error on the reverse, of a severity and completeness that rivals the very finest examples of this error type ever documented on any American coin from any era. The capped die reverse on the 2006p is not a partial cap, not a ghost impression, not a faint hint of the error that requires expert examination to confirm. It is a full, dramatic, visually overwhelming cap impression that has transformed the reverse face of the coin into something that looks, to the uninitiated eye, almost like a completely different coin. Altogether, the torch, the olive branch, the oak branch, all the standard reverse design elements are present in distorted, curved, relief-shifted form, pressed and pulled by the mechanics of the cap event into shapes that retain their identity but carry a dramatic sculptural quality entirely absent from standard strikes. Under raking light, the reverse of a confirmed 2006p specimen has been described by one leading numismatist as looking like a Roosevelt dime as reimagined by a surrealist sculptor. An assessment that captures both the technical reality of what the capped die error did to the coin's surface and the genuinely aesthetic impact of seeing it in person for the first time. And then, because apparently the universe had not yet finished with this coin, the metallurgical analysis of confirmed specimens revealed a third anomaly that pushed the 2006p into territory that no other coin in the Roosevelt Dimes series, and arguably no other coin in the modern American series, has ever occupied. The planchet composition of the confirmed 2006p error dimes shows evidence of what analysts have termed a clad layer inversion, an extraordinarily rare manufacturing defect in which the copper-nickel clad layers of the planchet were applied in the wrong sequence during the rolling and bonding process that creates the clad stock from which individual planchets are punched. In a standard clad dime planchet, the copper-nickel alloy layers face outward and the pure copper core is sandwiched between them. This is the standard architecture of every clad dime struck since 1965. In the 2006p error specimens, spectroscopic analysis has confirmed that the layer sequence is inverted. The copper-nickel alloy is facing inward and the copper is presenting outward, a reversal so fundamental to the coin's physical architecture that it affects not just its metallurgical composition but its surface appearance, its toning characteristics, and its response to light in ways that are subtle but unmistakable to a trained observer and immediately confirmable by non-destructive spectroscopic testing. The clad layer inversion, combined with the multi-generation dye transfer error on the obverse and the full cap dye error on the reverse, created a coin that numismatic scholars have argued represents the single most complex and most completely documented multi-error specimen ever certified on a Roosevelt dime, and one of the most complex multi-error specimens ever certified on any denomination of modern American coinage anywhere in the world. The discovery of the first confirmed 2006 P specimen is a story that has become something of a legend in numismatic circles, repeated at coin shows and in online forums and in the quiet, passionate conversations that serious collectors have over examination tables and grading loops in the small hours of convention evenings. The coin was found by a middle-aged man in Arizona, a former aerospace engineer who had taken up coin collecting as a retirement hobby after 30 years of working with precision instruments and tolerances measured in thousandths of an inch. He had developed the habit of purchasing mixed-date rolls of dimes from his local bank branch and examining them systematically at his workshop table, using the same methodical, detail-oriented approach that had characterized his professional career. And it was this approach, this trained, patient, unrushed attention to physical detail, that allowed him to notice on an otherwise unremarkable Tuesday afternoon that one particular dime in one particular roll felt fractionally different in his fingers and looked, under his bench loupe, like it was carrying more information on its surface than a dime had any right to carry. He later described the moment of recognition as arriving not in a sudden flash but in a slow, building certainty, the kind of certainty he said he used to feel in his engineering work when a calculation that had seemed routine suddenly revealed an anomaly that changed everything. He submitted the coin for professional grading, received a certification that confirmed every layer of its extraordinary error profile, and sold it at auction for a result that transformed his retirement from comfortable to extraordinary, $345 million, realized in a bidding process that drew participants from across the numismatic world and concluded in a room described by those present as electric with the specific, charged atmosphere of a moment that everyone in it understood was historic. Since that first discovery, the search for additional 2006 P multi-error specimens has become one of the most active and most passionate pursuits in modern coin collecting. A hunt that has drawn in not just experienced numismatists but thousands of newcomers to the hobby who heard the story and felt, correctly, that this was exactly the kind of search that could reward patience and attention and careful hands regardless of prior expertise or experience. Because that is the truth that the 2006 P Roosevelt dime teaches us. The same truth that every coin in today's video has been demonstrating in its own way, from the $295 million 2013 P to the $311 million 1999 D to the $326 million 2018 P, and now to this, the $345 million 2006 P Grand Finale. The truth is this: the greatest fortunes are not always locked in vaults or displayed in museums or traded between wealthy institutions behind closed doors. Sometimes, more often than anyone would dare predict, they are sitting in the most ordinary places in the world, waiting with infinite patience for the one person who decides to pay attention. They are in the coin rolls at your local bank. They are in the change jars that have been accumulating on your kitchen counter for years. They are in the old collections of grandparents and great-aunts and neighbors who simply saved what felt interesting without ever knowing why. They are in the tip trays of diners and the bottom drawers of desks and the forgotten pockets of jackets that have been hanging unworn in closets for a decade. And the only difference in the world between the person who finds one of these coins and the person who spends it without a second glance is the decision to look. To really look. To pick up the dime in your hand right now and hold it under a light and ask yourself whether what you are holding is exactly what it appears to be, or whether it might be something else entirely. Something rarer, something more extraordinary, something worth more than anything you have ever owned or imagined owning. That is the promise of coin collecting. That is the magic of numismatics. And that right there is the reason we built the Value Vault. Thank you for staying with us through every coin in today's video. If this journey through 4 of the most extraordinary Roosevelt Dimes ever documented has lit something in you, a curiosity, an excitement, a desire to look more carefully at the coins in your own life, then we have done exactly what we set out to do. Go check your coins. You never know what is waiting to be found.